Welcome to my 14th presentation for the team of purchase and contracts. And today's topic is purchase order processing mistakes that could be hurting your profit margins. Overall, this is my 88th presentation considering all the YouTube presentations that I have made so far. So this is an image showing what all goes into the purchase order or a contract. What I plan to include in this presentation are 1. List of 17 roles in addition to the negotiation role that can impact profitability. 2. Role spotlights in purchase order processor role. 3. Purpose and significance of the fields and authorization objects in the SAP-MM module. 4th, common negligence points in purchase order processing affecting profitability, for example, in the SAP environments. Simple illustration to show the profitability impact. Cost control is your responsibility. Using the aids in SAP to verify purchase order line items. Empowerment, particularly in the ERP environments. Enhance your skills from my blogs on my social media. So list of 17 roles. There are different roles that need to be defined within the SAP module also. The roles listed below are derived from the SAP-MM module. However, similar roles with different names may exist in other ERP packages or software solutions, or even those without ERP software and support. The roles are like purchase order acquisition, purchase order processor, good receipt processor, invoice processor, and so on and so forth. I have given the different 17 roles, next one being inventory manager, MRP controller, release strategy approval, and so on and so forth. So in this presentation, only purchase order processor role is being shared, as through this the negotiated rates are incorporated in the SAP. That means this role number 2 which I am talking about, that I'll be covering in this presentation. Now, what is this slide indicates focuses on the role spotlight for purchase order processor. A simple role definition is that this role essentially creates changes and manages the purchase order. The rates which have been negotiated, they need to be put in the form of a purchase order or the contract. So that is the objective of this page. As a PO processor in the SAP module, your role is system control through SAP authorization objects, ensuring access only to relevant documents, groups, and plants. I will be covering about authorization objects in the next slide. So the critical transaction for performing this role are ME21 for creating PO, ME22N for changing in the PO, and ME23N in for displaying of the PO. As a PO processor, you handle one of the most financially critical documents in the procurement cycle, the purchase order. If neglected, it can lead to higher cost and the wrong vendor and hence profitability risk. That means even if you negotiate a rate as per your best abilities, but in case you enter a wrong rate in the SAP environments, SAP system, obviously the profitability will be impacted. A role has a role is made of a combination of fields and authorization objects, as I'll be sharing soon. So there are hundreds and hundreds, and in fact in the roles in the purchase function, and there can be thousands of roles considering all the modules in your organization, like finance module, quality module, production module, PP module, and so on and so forth, sales and distribution module, and so on and so forth. So in the role, I talked about that role is a made of combination of fields and authorization objects. So let me talk about now what are field. A field is a specific data input in SAP, like in Excel. For example, LIFNR. This is the vendor number, an essential field for performing the purchase order processor role. A purchase order or any other SAP document contains several fields. So this is just one field I have referred to, and this field LFNR identifies the vendor, and it directly affects the supplier. A PO is issued only to relevant supplier, which otherwise can impact cost and profitability. 2. Authorization object. It controls what users can do in the SAP based on their roles. In our example, an authorization object M underscore BEST underscore EKG, the buyer authority check, is an important object in the context of the field LFNR. An authorization object can be attached in several fields. In the current example of field NFNR, the authorization object which I mentioned checks if a user is allowed to create alter purchase order or change a purchase order or display a purchase order within a specific group. It prevents misuse like unauthorized purchase order, wrong vendor selection, or excess pricing. Why authorization objects as a matter of profitability? It ensures the right person, the right data, and the right vendor, which avoids costly errors or frauds. It encourages role clarity and accountability within the purchase team. So I'll be giving more examples to this. Now, mistakes. What kind of mistakes in the purchase order process cycle that affect the profitability? One, mistakes in the field like vendor selection, unit pricing, or delivery dates can snowball into severe cost overruns or production delays. Two, common errors along with the field names like wrong vendor, inflated prices, unlisted delivery date, ignored unit cost, etc. Mistakes in the field like vendor selection, unit pricing, or delivery dates can snowball into serious cost overruns. Now, this is a table comprising of five columns and indicates vis-a-vis each field what are the field codes, what are the name of authorization objects applicable, and authorization object and remarks. So I'll just take one example. So let's talk about the first field, the first row. The field description is vendor. In SAP, it is called LIFNR, and the name of the authorization objects which are attached to this is purchase group in a purchasing, and number two, vendor authorization. So there are two different authorization objects. There can be many more authorization objects, but I am focusing right now on these. And I've given the next column number four, the authorization object code for both. And this is actually relevant for purchasing group responsibility for negotiating the ordering. Now, what is meant by purchasing group? You see, in a organization like say making vehicles, there can be different kind of buyings. Someone may be buying which are items which are of sheet metal, some may be buying items of proprietary nature, some may be buying item of say bar stock or and so on and so forth. So the right relevant purchase group needs to process that purchase order into the SAP. So this is meant by that. Likewise, there are price, unit, and delivery dates fields are there in the purchase order, and there are different authorization objects which are attached within this. Now, simple illustration to show the probability impact rate mistake. Now, let's say that in this table I have just indicated that let's say that the purchase order rate settled by you is say rupees 500, which is with the due diligence. Now, in somebody can enter this without diligence as 550. So this is an error. So this is data entry error. Let's assume that the quantity is 200 to be ordered, and amount payable as per the with due diligence is actually 100,000 or 1 lakh, but actually which will get paid it will be 1 lakh 10,000 because of error in entering of this data. Now let me take another example, that this is for effective date. This is another very important object. Now assume that the initial rate which you have settled was 80 rupees, and there's a price revision due to say inflation or design change. So let's say that the revised rate is 90 rupees. So in the first row it indicates with due diligence and without diligence 90 rupees, so no error. Quantity says 1000 pieces, okay, no order, both with diligence and without due diligence. Purchase order amount value is 90,000, okay, no error. Now fourth row is most important. It indicates that the rate which you negotiated was effective from say 1st June 25, whereas the person entering in the SAP has entered it as 1/3/25. It is an error. So there will be loss of rupees 29,700, as the previous March, April, May quantity will also get paid at the rate of revised rate of 90 rupees. So therefore the role of PO processor is very, very important. Cost control is your responsibility. Now, profit protection starts with you. A diligent review of a purchase order takes minutes, but it can impact across many fiscal quarters. Your checklist before purchase order approval must include vendor validation, confirming prices matches with the approved document information, realistic delivery period, effective date as per negotiation, contract terms entered in the ERP system like or payment software related to the payment scope as per agreed terms, etc. etc. Now, there are different aids which are available within the SAP to verify the purchase order line items. These are like PO history, condition tab, linked contract via transaction code ME33K, which has got rights, read rights, say for price, etc., and pricing, condition, quantity, etc., and document flow control fields are there, which I have given. Now these tools, they are access controlled, and authorization defines what a processor can see, create, or change, and this must be exercised very, very wisely. Now this is the slide which indicates that how access control is very important, and access must be granted to persons who actually really ought to be given that. Empowerment in the ERP environment. You don't just need process. You don't just process purchase orders. You guard the profitability. Share this message with your team and lead the diligence in the role configuration and the allocation as per the competence, followed by the correct configuration in ERP. Based on my hands-on experience in negotiation and SAP, I guess profitability risk in the ERP environments can be much higher than in the manual environments due to ERP automation, which proves that the GIGO concept, which is garbage in, garbage out. You have seen that example of garbage in terms of the date which I have mentioned and the rate which I have mentioned. So garbage in, garbage out. This is because the chance of such errors getting overlooked are higher unless until the ERP competent internal auditors does a deep dive into the role, profile, configuration process, etc. If neglected, you can incur higher costs or emerge the wrong vendors. Your role is your profit guard and must be configured robustly in the ERP software. Be diligent, be profitable. And last slide, enhance your skills from my blogs on my social media. Many professionals are learning from my blogs as per the evidence given below. As on 28/5 yesterday evening, that my in my Udemy course there are 13 articles which are there on the YouTube, and there are 2,29,764 views for these 13 articles, through which you can enhance your skills. And there are 6198 about 6200 hours which have been watched, and there are clicks to the website at 12,965. Similarly, I have given some indication for the books on ethics which you can refer to, and overall this shows that for overall views to my YouTube are about 1.3 million. So I've given the reference to my YouTube link and website link, and also the uh, Udemy course. Now, in case you wish to get a free summary of my Udemy course, please fill out the enclosed Google form included in the video description, enabling me to deliver it to your email ID. Thank you and happy learning. इसके बाद इसको बंद